Okay, it's officially 6 o'clock on Tuesday, April 11th, for the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. Mr. Baker, do we have roll call, please?
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Here.
Mr. Waller?
Present.
And we have Miss Tiffany tonight instead of Jeff, so is there a need for an executive session?
Yes, ma'am. Request a motion from the board to enter into an executive session in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 121.22 G2 to consider the purchase of property for public purposes, and in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 121.22 G3 to discuss pending or imminent litigation.
Do we have a motion?
I motion that we go into executive sessions for the reasons detailed by Assistant Administrator Mays.
I'll second that, and I'll ask if there's going to be any guests besides, do we have anyone else
No,
attending?
sir.
Okay.
Our, Matt,
Yes,
Mr. Burns, part of the legal team. Okay.
okay,
Ms. Orich?
yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Okay, we adjourn at 6:01. Okay, just turned 7 o'clock. It is April 11th, 7 o'clock, and we are going to start our regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. Mr. Baker, would you like to call roll call, please?
Ms. Orich?
Here.
Mr. Unger? Here. Mr. Waller?
Here.
And is there anything to report from executive session?
No, ma'am.
Okay, then we can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One nation.
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And for our moment of meditation, I'd like to call up Chief Alan Wells to say a few words.
Assistant Chief Marvin Sheets, or Marv or Marvin or Chief Sheets, passed away peacefully on March the 27th. He was laid to rest last Monday. He was with us from 1983 to 2009 upon his retirement. So I would ask that you keep the family and his wife Peggy in your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have approval of minutes.
Thank you, Board. I have two sets of minutes for your approval tonight. First, I have the minutes from the regular meeting that occurred on March 14th, 2023.
The March 14th meeting, you said?
March 14th?
I motion that we approve the minutes from the March 14th meeting.
That's okay.
I'll second.
I had sent just a couple of typos. Did you address those?
Yes.
Thank you. No other comments?
No other comments?
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Thank you. Secondly, I have the minutes from the special meeting of the Board of Trustees on March 28th, 2023.
I motion that we approve the minutes from the March 28th meeting.
Second.
Any discussions?
No discussion.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Thank you, Board.
Okay, we have a presentation. For Chief Walls, do you want to read?
Good evening to the board and those of you in attendance. First up tonight, we have a retirement proclamation for Captain David Witherby, who's not here this evening. For those that don't know Dave, he was hired in June of 1988. In 1989, he was hired as part of the contingent of the first paramedics to provide ALS services to Colerain Township. Along the way, he had nearly 35 years of service. He was lieutenant, a captain. He was also an active member of Ohio Task Force 1 and the Hamilton County USAR team. Dave was a friend, a mentor, maybe occasionally a tormentor, but his years of service, were impeccable. And I have the proclamation up there for you to read if you would like.
Okay.
Actually, I move that the chair be permitted to read the proclamation.
Oh, thank you.
I actually looked this up to make sure we were doing it right.
He was on spring break this week and read the Robert's Rules of Order
Again. Yeah.
again.
So we need a second to.
I'll second that, Matt.
Okay. The proclamation is whereas Captain David A. Witherby was hired on June 21st of 1988 as an employee of Colerain Township Fire Department of Fire and Emergency Medical Services. And whereas Captain David A. Witherby has demonstrated professionalism, allegiance, service, commitment, and excellence through his contributions as a firefighter, emergency medical technician, paramedic, lieutenant captain, leader, mentor, colleague, and friend during his tenure with the department. And whereas Captain David A. Witherby retired on February 23rd of 2023 after nearly 35 years of commendable dedication to providing fire protection, emergency medical, and community risk reduction services to Colerain Township community. Therefore, be it resolved that Colerain Township Board of Trustees recognizes Captain David A. Witherby as an outstanding employee and that he contributed greatly to our community during his long tenure of public service. Be it further resolved that in recognition of all that Captain David A. Witherby has done for Colerain Township, the Colerain Township Board of Trustees hereby proclaim Tuesday, April 11th, 2023 is a special day of recognition for Dave Witherby to acknowledge his contributions in our community and wish him continued success in retirement.
I motion that we would approve the proclamation.
I'll second.
Thank you for your long term of service, Dave.
And he's not here to get a picture.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes, and I also thank Captain for his service as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Next up, I have one swearing in. I had two on the docket, but firefighter EMT Sam Greenlee is sick tonight. So at the present time, I would like to ask Matt Vangan to please come forward. We'll have you stand up. Pressure's fine. Then we'll go from there. So, Captain Matt Vangan here. He's our newest training captain. He was hired in 2001. He's been a firefighter paramedic, a fire lieutenant. He's working on his bachelor's degree from Columbia Southern University. He's also enrolled in the Ohio Fire Executive Program Class 22. And tonight he will be penned by his children, Austin, McKenna, and Aniston. And I'm going to let Captain Vangan introduce his family.
So these are my three kids, Aniston, McKenna, and Austin, my wife Whitney, my mom Julie, my sister Lexi. You guys are lucky because I've been going forever. My dad Dale, my father-in-law, and mother-in-law Birch and Alice, and then three of my guys in the back, Andy, Alex, and Steve.
You're not nervous, are you?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I'm not sweating either.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Matt Vangan,
I'm Matt Vangan,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio.
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio.
I will abide by the Colerain Township Department of Fire and EMS
Will abide by the Colerain Township Department of Fire and EMS
mission statement,
mission statement,
values,
values,
code of ethics,
code of ethics,
and operating guidelines,
and operating guidelines,
and the township's policies and procedures.
and township's policies and procedures.
I'll faithfully discharge the duties of training captain
And I will faithfully discharge the duties of training captain
in the Fort Colerain Township,
in and for Colerain Township,
Hamilton County,
Hamilton County,
State of Ohio,
State of Ohio,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, and thank you for all your service to Colerain.
And that concludes my presentations tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
We have the other chief. Uh-oh.
Told him lower.
I know.
Didn't go for it. Good evening, everybody. If I could have Tyler and Jess, just want to step up here with me. Before you is two of our newly hired police officers that we'll be swearing in tonight. The first one here is going to be Tyler Large. A little bit about Tyler. He graduated from Batavia High School, and before joining us here in Colerain Township, he worked at corrections at Hamilton County Sheriff's Office since 2017. Tyler, do you want to introduce your family for me?
Yes, my wife, my mother-in-law, my good friends Emily and Dylan, my mother, Denise, other good friend Noah, and then his mother, Trish.
All right. And then directly to Tyler's side, we have Officer Jessica Meyer. Jessica graduated from the University of Cincinnati with a master's degree of science in criminal justice. She comes to us with extensive traffic safety training and experience that will benefit the department. Her training will give the department a third traffic safety reconstructionist. Jessica started her law enforcement career with Hamilton County Sheriff's Office in 2012. She worked with St. Bernard Police Department from 2015 to 17, and most recently came to us from Green Township Police Department, where she has been since 2017. Jess, if you'd like to introduce your family.
My husband, Zach Meyer, in the back. My mother and father-in-law, Laura and Mike Meyer. My mother, Susie Gervis, and my daughter, Sylvie Meyer.
Oh.
All right, you good? All right, let's have you two stand here. Zach?
Oh, it's in the family.
Right hand. I state your name.
My Lord,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution
that I will uphold the Constitution
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of Ohio
of the State of Ohio
and its bylaws.
and its bylaws.
I will abide by
I will abide by
the Colerain Police Department
the Colerain Police Department
mission and value statement,
mission and value statement,
code of ethics,
code of ethics,
rules and regulations,
rules and regulations,
police department policy and procedure.
police department policy and procedure,
And I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of police officer
the duties of police officer
in and for Colerain Township,
for
Hamilton County,
Hamilton County,
State of Ohio,
State of Ohio,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Oh, congrats. Oh, so precious.
Thank you, Gordy.
Thank you.
Thank you and welcome aboard. Thank you very much.
Good poaching, Mr. Cordy, Chief Cordy. Wait till the room clears out. Thank you all for coming. It's always wonderful to see so many supporters. I know her from somewhere.
It's kind of hot here. Use
Turn it off and turn it on.
Ms. Mays,
hot.
it's kind of warm in here.
We've notified our facility manager and we did turn the air down.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
There's no clap on or clap off, as Matt's saying. Okay, the room's now cleared out. Now we have a presentation by James Welch of Welch Sand and Gravel.
Glad I was here for the swearing in of the officers. That was fun to watch. My
Oh,
name is-
we got to turn on the mic, sorry, the little switch on.
As he does that, I'll welcome you. Thank you for coming.
My name is James Welch, the owner and president of Welch Sand and Gravel Incorporated. We're located at 8953 East Miami River Road, and that's in Colerain Township, Cincinnati 47. We've been at that location since 1955, and much of the property was historic mining that's went on for since the early 1900s. And recently, the township showed some interest in excavating the gravel bar that's in front of the park. And do you guys have graphics?
No, we do not.
I'm familiar with
But
what
we're
you're
in front
talking
of,
about.
so for the public, we're talking Dravo Park.
Yes.
It's-
Thank you, sir.
Some years ago, around 2000, we was asked to excavate the gravel area near the park. The river had changed course, and there was a pretty bad erosion problem. In fact, they lost part of the ball field. Third base fell into the river. When the Great Miami River runs rampant and floods, you never know exactly where the channel is going to go. In the case of this particular area, the canoe ramp has now accumulated a huge gravel bar, so rather difficult to get canoes in the river at that location, and you have to drag it across the gravel bar, which is probably 150 feet or more. We have made a presentation to the township on excavating this area to allow recreational access. Our company has basically a 70-year experience in river dredging. We have two active permits. We work with the Army Corps of Engineers, Miami Conservancy. We mine at I say mine, we're actually flood control excavation at the city of Hamilton at the Blackstreet Bridge, if any of y'all are familiar with that. And that's under the auspices of the Corps of Engineers and Miami Conservancy, and it's under a flood control permit. So basically what happens in the case of the park, the old C&O Railroad piers, when they took the railroad out, the piers were left. Well, this slows down the flow of gravel and leads to deposits. If you look at the aerial map that I gave you, if you notice that the river is belled on both sides, it's if the river runs on our side, we own the property on the other side of the river on both sides of Patty's Run Creek. When gravel deposits in the river, it puts water pressure on that side, and the same as on your side. There's a delineation mark that shows what property was lost to the river on the park side. But we've made a proposal. I think you guys have probably seen that. Basically, the proposal is that we would excavate the gravel bar. So we'll give you water access to the river. That illustration there, look how the river is belled out on both sides.
Right.
And at one time there was some conversation about removing the piers, which would more or less stabilize that whole area, but understand that they're massive. They're many feet under the water, under the gravel, and are sitting on driven piers. You know, they're pilings, and it would be a major undertaking to take it out. When we the township actually supported our permit when we corrected the park erosion. That was, like I say, that was around 2000 or 2003. So when we corrected the river, basically it's channelization. River dredging on the Great Miami is a pretty common thing. There are several permits up and down the river, and these are strictly regulated by Corps of Engineers and Ohio Department of Natural Resources, Ohio EPA. So there's quite a bit of regulation that goes with this. We don't know if we can get a permit. We've talked to our mine services. It's an engineering firm out of Columbus, and they have familiarity with engineering and so forth. Water flow is very technical. The permit costs around $25,000, which we have offered to pay. And our benefit is that the gravel does have mineral value, and we've offered to compensate the township for that. This type of gravel is not prime. It's if you like sticks and bottle caps and tires and things like that, but it can't be used in concrete. It can be used for commercial construction. So none of this material, if excavated, would come into the park. So the pavements and things like that would be protected. As I said before, we have about 70 years of in-stream mining experience. The permit was, we encouraged the township to keep the permit years ago, but there was, at that time, there were some people that did not want to continue it, so the permit was dropped. So this, if we are successful in obtaining a permit, the township can regulate when, how, and by what means. So you guys, we've given you guys total control of the permit. The gravel bar itself consists of about 96,000 tons. Years ago, the permit was unlimited, and we had large cranes that dug probably 30 feet deep. It was supported by the Ohio Fish and Wildlife. Several studies were made on that particular pool when the water was deep, and it supported more diversity of fish and marine animals than any other part of the river. But not because we were so great at digging a hole, but it was a bit more water depth, and it lent more environment for fish and wildlife. Other than that, like I say, the permit process, I doubt it would be late in the year. If it was achieved, it would be a maintenance contract, and flood control would be the primary purpose of the permit. If we are successful, we never mine until late in the season. The reason for that is historically the water is at the lowest ebb, and of course recreational use is limited at that time as it's starting to get colder and so forth. And other than that, I think you guys have the proposal. If there's any amendments or anything that you wish, but like I say, the township would have total control. The permit would be in our name because we have to also permit part of our river frontage. If the roads to extract the material has to be under the permit also. And there's a proposed drawing of the where the material would go and come up to our plant. Welch is one of the top 10 gravel and sand producers in the state of Ohio for many years, and our largest plant is across from Stricker's Grove on 128. We have plants in Butler County and 2 river operations, one of which is in Crosby Township. The environmental part, the Corps of Engineers have if they issue a permit, it'd be a one-step operation. A haul truck backs up, the excavators load directly onto the truck, water, gravel, whatever. You're not allowed to stock material on the river. You're not allowed to run dewater at the river. So basically, it's a one-step operation, and that is also the rules of our other two river permits. River dredging is on these type of fast-flowing rivers constantly. I'm sure you've seen much erosion. We recently, not recently, but maybe 10 years ago, sold 142 acres of the lower property to the Hamilton County Park District. When they did a survey, there was 40-some acres that had actually crossed the river. That was originally our property, but it is on the other side of the river now. So whenever there's an impediment, whenever you see a gravel bar, there's usually some type of restriction or a severe bend in the river. Up at the Bolton Water Plant, if anybody's aware of that, they are barely controlling the river as it makes a 90-degree turn right there. But anyway, our company has a lot of experience. We would carry this out to the best efficiency. We're under Mine Safety Administration, so we're compliant with all agencies and so forth. The engineering is very detailed. I'll show you. I don't have too many copies of this, but this is the engineering on our permit with Miami Conservancy.
So why the graphics up there? You own part of this gravel part in the river, correct, in Colerain Town?
Pardon?
Part of your property is part of the river of
Okay,
this,
where the arrow is now, it's all our property.
right, okay.
It's also our property on both sides of the river, on both sides of Praties Run Creek. That gravel bar,
Didn't know how much you owned of that.
all of it.
All of it. And are we on a little piece right in the front there? Is that,
Yes.
So-
Well, you can see Grave Oak Park, it's a triangle.
right, so there's a little piece of ours right,
Yeah, well, that bar in low water is massive. It goes way past the ball field. How recent is that aerial? Is it current?
Google Map, it says 2023, so.
we had a lot of rain, it could have been taken,
Well,
yeah.
right now, the river is up. And,
Right.
but that gravel bar is, it actually goes all the way up. You can see the map that we gave you, that's more representative of what it is. But if when the water goes down, it will go down, it basically comes all the way up to the canoe ramp.
Right, so this is
And,
advantageous for Colerain Township to get,
Yes.
yes,
There's not, of course, people that want to go canoeing bad enough, it's not an obstacle, so. But anyway, before we present to the permit area, we wanted the trustees and the Park District, of course, to see if they wanted to approve this, because like I say, we have to engage engineering, and our estimate of cost for the permit is about $25,000. If the permit is issued for maintenance, it'll be a Section 10 Corps of Engineers permit. If it's issued for maintenance, then it can be maintained. And our initial payment to the township, of course, is for the gravel bar that's there now. Any ongoing maintenance, will share the expense of it with you guys. But and it would not be as dramatic as what's there now. Once it's cleaned out, you just have to maintain it. And we have large cranes. We have 345 several excavators that are used for river dredging. Years ago, they used large drag lines, and that's a non-issue now. But anyway, something for you guys to consider. We're happy either way. If we can help with this, we'd be glad to do so. And it benefits the township and our company.
I had a couple questions, if I could, too. When do you have a ballpark as to when the permit was dropped by the township? What year?
Yes. It was I even have the letter of severance. I'll call it severance, but it was in 2003.
2003, okay.
The trustees at that time was Vogelsang and Dennis Chapman. And
This was Public Works, and Mr. Fogelsang was the administrator, I think.
they issued letters of support to do this, but at the time, if you see this belling out, the ball field actually went over.
Right.
If you run a straight line across through there, that's what they lost in property. And the reason it was lost is because the gravel bar formed in the center, and anytime you compress water, it's more violent on the sides. If you see no gravel in the river, it's very placid. As soon as the gravel bars form, it increases pressure on both sides. And we lost land on the other side as well.
Now, when you dredge, you said it's 96,000 tons in the gravel bar. How much of that do you dredge typically?
Well, that's the total amount we can extract.
Okay.
It's I think 5 or 6 feet above the water, 4 feet below. The permits that are issued are limited. You can dig. The other permits we have 4 feet below on low water. And obviously, you don't go in when the water is like it is now. But when the river's at its lowest, then that's when it's excavated. So basically, you wouldn't have a deep. At low water, you're going to have 4 or 5 feet of water on the canoe ramp.
So you can, at low water now at that site is 4 feet, and there'll be an additional 4, or you're saying
it's 4 feet. When the river's at its lowest in September, October, November, it would be 4 feet. That's when it would be excavated. Right now, there's 4 or 5 feet of gravel above. Now, there's no marine creatures that are affected since it's not necessarily in the water. It's unless there's something that lives under the gravel. But typically, the EPA permits are water pollution run back. So, that has to be maintained. Even the safety berms, which we're required to put in by Federal Mine Safety Administration, we're not allowed to build up like safety berms. They're 5 or 6 feet, just prevents your equipment running in the water. So that has to be excavated below grade, and so the gravel that's there now would be the first step to take out the part that's above the water.
Okay.
And then when that's gone, then they start the excavation on the upper end. And
so in 10 or 15 years, does that gravel reappear because of the?
Probably about 3 or 4 years.
I mean,
All right.
96 tons is not going to decimate that whole,
No,
it's just going to be a part of it.
And
This isn't a deep excavation, first of all. It's removing what's there now above the water, 4 or 5 feet. Do you guys have the estimate of our calculation, Tiffany?
how deep are those pilings now, just out of curiosity?
Well, first of all, when I talked to the mine service guy, the engineer, he said that they possibly could even have historic value. Anybody want an old railroad pier?
I think they were. I think they were built in 1902, and that's when that rail line was put in.
I think they were damaged in the 1938 flood. And one of them is tilted from floods, but when they were put in, they were well below the river bottom. They're just not coming out.
So just the piece of paper I want to show the public. So this gravel area right now is 6.88 acres.
Yes.
That's how large we're looking at this gravel mass.
Well, that aerial is not representative because it goes all the way up the river.
Okay, just so people that are
About
looking
six-
at it,
yeah, that's
right.
6 acres. And you have to, in order, when the gravel bar is taken out, and it will reform, depending on how much water we get in floods, and it seems like this year we've had a lot, but there's some years that very slow accumulation. But anytime there's an impediment in the river that slows water, it's the same as up our permit at Hamilton. it slows the gravel down, it deposits, and next flood puts it on top, but basically, what's there now is accumulated since, and it's been there for a long time.
Okay.
When they put the canoe ramp in, it was in the water, so that was maybe 6 or 7 years ago.
I believe so. I think Roger had mentioned 8.
So this has occurred in 6 or 7 years.
So who has oversight over this project when you're doing it? Is it ONR? Is it Army Corps of Engineers? Is it both?
Army Corps of Engineers is a predominant agency.
Okay.
And then beyond that, we have Mine Safety Administration. So they, safety people that come in and oversee. Ohio Department of Natural Resources Division of Reclamation doesn't have much to do about river operations because there's no reclamation. One flood and it's reclaimed.
Okay.
But Rich Pennington with the state of Ohio is our reclamation officer. Our plant is in reclamation now for the most part. We have about a 70-acre lake. Eventually it'll be turned over for recreation. You know, these pits eventually go away, and we have other operations, but it's our main office and stuff, so Rock keep it all. The Hamilton County Park District has expressed an interest in the lake for recreation.
All right, thank you.
One of the, I'm somewhat familiar with your company and where you're at, and you have a lot of competitors that are controlled by out-of-state interest. It's great to have the face of your company right here for us to ask questions and to work with, as opposed to you being somebody out in St. Louis or Dallas or somewhere else. I'm guessing you have probably worked there since before child labor laws were in place and you were 4 years old.
Our family's been there since 1955.
Right, and so that, and I'm sure you've been there your whole life, and that just your knowledge that you're expressing, it tells me that you've been there, and I can't imagine somebody better to do this work than somebody who has spent their life there. There's a lot of flood control issues every time that it rains. That's the first thing you hear is that river flooding. And in the interest of other township property owners that have property that abuts the river, I think you're doing them all a favor. And that, and the fact there is a great need for sand and gravel, and I'm glad that we have a local producer.
Well, your Colerain Township is currently rich with the gravel deposit. So,
right, and it
right.
will keep coming, and
most companies our size are bought out or taken over by Martin Marietta's and Vulcan Materials.
And that's what I was referring to. It's nice to have a local owner that if anything comes up during this project or future projects, that we would have you to reach out to. And you know, we really appreciate the fact that you've been running a business here in the Colerain Township area for the last 65 years.
Long time. I wasn't, I'm not as old as my dad. He passed away 2 years ago, but he ran that.
I think I knew of him also. I was in the paving business for 20 years, and I'm familiar with who you are, and I fully support what you're trying to do, and the flood mitigation efforts and providing this very necessary material locally here. I don't see how it's not a win-win for us. What do you need from me to be successful?
For us to start is just, the contract that we presented. If your legal people want something else added in there, we think we've covered everything, but the township has control if the park managers say, hey, this is great, let's just not touch this, and then there is no going forward. After the gravel bar is removed, there'll be water at the end of the canoe ramp, and it won't be deep water. You don't want to drop off into 10 feet of water right there, so it'll be about 4 or 5 foot. So it'd be easy to launch canoes and stuff like that. This whole area, these gravel companies don't last forever. I mean, they're limited by natural reserves, and much of our property we've sold, mostly to Hamilton County Park District. We sold 62 acres across the road by the shooting range, and it's an old gravel pit, but these things eventually come to some attractive use.
Right, the earth's not done moving or forming yet, and there'll be more gravel, like you told Matt. In 3 or 4 years, that whole thing could reconstitute itself.
If the permit is issued, if we've asked the people to, try to form it into a Section 10 maintenance permit, basically it's flood control purpose, and it prevents erosion and so forth. If that can be maintained and keep that permit active, and if it's needed again, like say in 2003, the trustees at that time wanted to cancel a permit, so it was dropped at that time. That
You
same
offered to pay those costs
Yeah.
for the permit.
Yeah.
Would it meet your timelines if this came back at our next meeting, which is in 2 weeks?
Sure. Well,
I mean, the other trustees need to speak to it, but as far as I'm concerned, by the time this all runs through, it might be midsummer before you're approved, and that would allow you to start mobilizing for a fall.
late summer would be fortunate. The Corps of Engineers, I think at the Louisville district, they just don't move fast. They have a lot of
Right. So in order for you to perform these operations this fall, you kind of need this to get going now.
Time is of the essence. If we can get it by fall, I'd say September, October, November would be the prime months to take it out. And that's when, the recreational traffic would be lower, the water would be colder and so forth anyway, so it'd be a good time to do that. And it's extracted through our property. The interesting part here is there's no other adjacent property owners to have input on it, because we own the property on both sides. We lease farmland on by Rumpke Park to Nolmans and Burwinkles.
Which have both been there for generations.
Yeah.
Well, I'm with Mr. Unger. It's a win-win for Colerain Township.
So would you say that if our law director can get this arranged, we can put it on the next agenda?
I say absolutely.
Yeah.
We're all in agreement with that.
All right, very good.
And does,
And we'll keep you guys posted on the permit process and see how it goes. Like I say, there's no slam dunk that the permit will be
right,
issued.
we don't want to be the reason you don't get it, so. Could you leave your cell phone number with Scott so that we have it in case there's any follow-up questions?
Tiffany has
Do you have it?
yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, thanks very
Thank
much.
you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming out
Like I say, I
tonight.
enjoyed the presentations tonight. That was worth the trip up here.
Never
Come
want
on
your-
back, we're here every 2 weeks.
It's 6 acres.
Don't be a stranger.
Thank you. Okay, now we move on to citizens' address, and the first one is Greg Teeters.
Good evening, sir. Thanks for coming out.
Hello.
Good evening. My name's Greg Teeters. I own McDog's Lakeside Saloon, and I'm not sure if the township are aware of this, but got some papers here from my liquor license states what
Thank
we
you.
own and what it covers.
Okay,
And I've got a letter here from the state secretary congratulating the location on over 100 years of business. I'm referring back to March 14th, 2003, when 23, when Miss Rowan Ninsky, I believe is her name, come down here and was complaining about some of the about McDogs, saying that the neighbors were in fear of complaining and fear of retaliation against me, retaliating against them for complaining, and I been dealing with Miss Renowski or whatever her name is. She's not even a citizen of our township. She lives in the state of Ohio, Indiana, and I don't even know if her father is even illegal to be here, which resides at that residence. She's telling you all that we have a lot of problems over there. That's news to me, because we don't have a whole lot of traffic coming down there as far as the police officers are concerned. I don't know where to start. She's just completely complaining about the same thing she did back in April 19th, I believe, 2019. She's come back and said the same things about the fence being busted. Yeah, there was a problem with the fence that we've corrected. she's saying that the utility pole that was knocked down in my parking lot dropped the power to her residence or her father's residence, which wasn't true. That was a cable, I believe it was Time Warner at the time. Their cable came down when that pole was hit. Kid came into the bar looking for his mother. She wasn't there, so he left, and there was a few girls out there, and I guess he was trying to show off in front of them. He did a burnout, hit the pole, knocked it down, and the township showed up. They did the breathalyzer and everything to him, so he wasn't on drugs or intoxicated. And she's constantly blaming me for all the problems that area has. And there's people that do park in my parking lot overnight. I encourage that because I don't want these people to leave drunk. Not that we're over serving them. Sometimes, 2 or 3 drinks, people are intoxicated. People don't drink. They come down there, they have one or two too many. I encourage them to stay there, call an Uber. I'll even take them home if I'm there. I don't drink. I do on occasion, but as far as me being down there at the business, no. I try to protect my people down there. As far as being a racist, I have more, we're even pretty much on the ethnicity of the bar. We welcome anybody that wants to come down there. They're welcome. They're safe down there. And I make it a point to let everybody know that. She's trying to direct all the attention to me to avoid all the things that they're doing. Mr. Whatever his name is that lives in that house has a cabinet shop back there behind his business. He's been running his cabinet business for years. And I brought that to the township's attention many years ago, and there was nothing ever really done about it. He owns a house over on at 10024 Hollis Lane, or Hollis Drive, which is on the street coming towards McDonald's. He had an addition to the back of that. I didn't see a permit or an inspection done on that he's claimed that I've done some construction. As you can see by the letter that I presented to you, my liquor license covers the entire property. There is no construction that has been done other than redoing what's existing. You guys are more than welcome to come down there and inspect it yourself. There's one area when you walk through the front door, that's the bar area. There's a little room back behind there that I use as a kitchen. We do hoagies and pizzas, that's it. We have storage throughout the bar. There's a pavilion on the outside that
can you wait?
I motion that we give him 2 more minutes. to
Okay,
finish.
we just have to motion. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
2 more minutes, please.
I do the storage. I have my tractor and my lawn equipment that I use out there. In the summertime, we do have live music out there. I have it on Saturday afternoon from, I think it was 3 to 7 last year, and I think we're going to try to go from 4 to 10 this year. I respect my neighbors. They have a problem. They all have my number, and if there's a problem, they'll come to me, and I'll resolve it immediately. It's not something that's ongoing. As far as the trash is concerned, I don't do it every day, but I try to do it every other day. Go around, and I even pick up his trash. I'm not saying that it's all generated from me, but what generated around that area, I go through and I clean it up. In the wintertime, I'll plow the snow for my neighbors. I try to keep the streets cleaned up. I try to the best I can. I've been down there for 21 years. And, and it's only been since 2019 that she has come to me. She hasn't even approached me. She's come to you guys and complained about all the things that she feels is going wrong. If the music's too loud, I will turn it down if she can hear it in Indianapolis where she lives. And it's kind of ridiculous for her to come down here and complain about the things that she has. It's unwarranted. And I just hope that you guys can help me resolve this problem. If there's an issue that I can resolve myself to satisfy her, I'll be more than welcome. And I've done everything I can to help my neighbors. I've raised a lot of money down there for breast cancer for Colerain Township Police Department when we had the heroin epidemic. You know, we did a run for that, you know, and I don't know what more I can do to help support this community, you know, and other than, you know, ask you guys to find out what I've done to
Sure.
to her to make her so mad at me. You know, I mean, I'll do anything to resolve it. Even if they have a problem, I'll be more than welcome to go over there and help.
Okay, sorry. Thank you for coming out. We understand what you're going through. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
you.
your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next citizen address is Kathy Moore.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
I think I'm going to be able to do this well within my time.
Okay.
First of all, I'd like to request a correction or an addition to the minutes of November 15th, 2022. I'm requesting that under the administrative reports, that it be added under Mr. Weckbach that he addressed my question regarding the department head's comp time. I typed it out here. I'll give each one of you a copy. On the agenda, there's a request for an agreement for budget and public works, et cetera, software or an agreement. And does the township use the UAN supplied by the state of Ohio for accounting purposes? Are we duplicating accounting
Software?
transactions? Because I know you use the UAN for payroll and stuff, and I don't know why you would want to get a totally different system other than what is recommended by the state. And I was told that 96% of the townships in the state are on the Uniform Accounting Network. Under my understanding that Mr. Mills had gotten budget programs before and had been using them. So I'm just wondering, why do we have two systems? And if you go with this, what about current agreements with the other departments, like Public Works or Code Enforcement? I know they have something, I don't know what. So I would request that you check on the auditor's budgetary software. And they also have cemetery and a couple of other things. On page 24 of the Policies and Procedures Manual, 1.7, Colerain Township Insurance Policy, it states that spousal coverage is not provided for part-time employees that are eligible for health care. And I'd like to know what part-time employees are eligible for health care. Following up on the last meeting, the township, I had stated that the township overpaid the law director, and Trustee Unger claimed that the comment was false. To set the record straight, I have copies from the audit that I will provide to you. And if you have any question about anything that I claim, please ask me, because I can show you where I got the information. And it has been stated that the law director might do other stuff not within the contract. So I don't see why you don't understand, if you have a contract, you have to stay within that amount. You can't be going over it. So I don't know why his other expenses don't have to be accounted for. And then I said I remembered we had to listen to a man stand before the meeting and tell us all about the previous law director's swimming accomplishments. And Dan also denied this, that we had someone speak. So I have a copy of the minutes from December the 11th, 2018, where it states that Doug Stiling came to speak in support of the law director who had been an Olympic swimmer. You were elected to oversee how our money is spent, but you don't seem that interested. I've asked several times that you reveal the amount of contracts when approving. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, which means that you're aware of it. How can you approve a contract not knowing what the amount is? This in turn creates a public record request. Where are the encumbered funds to allow other expenses? It's a public record and should be in the minutes when approved. The minutes are a permanent record of proceedings of the township. And I have documents for all of you, and I have a request that the documents I'm supplying you are put into the minutes. And I will give those to Mr. Baker.
Thank you. Thank you. Do you need additional time or are you finished? Okay.
Thank you.
Is this what you're giving Mr. Baker also? Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up. Thank you. Next up, we have administrative reports.
Okay, before we get going with that, I have two items before bringing up our police chief, or excuse me, our fire chief. The first is a recognition of Larry Shadd, in appreciation of Larry Shadd's commitment to Colerain Township and the many contributions that he made. Staff is planning a special recognition for the next Board of Trustees meeting on April 25th. If you could, I would like people to please contact me, Tiffany Mays, at tmays@colerain.org with any special memories that you would like to contribute to this effort. The second item is it appeared on our desk that the Colerain Historical Society is producing a fundraiser in conjunction with Eli's Sports Bar and Grill. So on Monday, April 24th, from 4 to 10 p.m., if you dine in or carry out, proceeds will benefit the Colerain Historical Society. So I know that they're very supported in our community and would like to see that from them. All right, up first is our fire chief, Chief Walls.
Welcome back, Chief.
Good evening and thank you. For March 2023, our incident activity, we had 846 EMS incidents. We had 201 fire incidents. We had 33 calls for service into the contract area of Springfield Township and Pleasant Run. We had no calls for service in the Springfield Township contract area in West College Hill. We had a building fire in the 3900 block of Spring Rock Drive with a $15,000 loss, and a building fire in the 2400 block of Green Springs Court with a $25,500 loss. Property value lost for the month was $40,500. Property value saved was $286,980. Cumulative save rate for 2023, property-wise, is 76.32%. Our average response time for the arrival of the first unit is 5 minutes and 22 seconds, and first unit on the scene less than 6 minutes is 65.10%. And if I may real quick, Larry Shadd was a charter member of the Dunlap Volunteer Fire Department and served for any number of years and was a trying to think the right way to put it, very loyal and proud servant of the township. So, and that's my report for tonight's meeting, unless anybody has any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief?
Thank you, Chief Falls. Up next is our Police Chief, Chief Cordy.
Good evening for the police department. For the month of March, we responded to 3,640 calls for service, which is actually down from last year. It's about 4% decrease. We're still averaging 117 calls for service per day. For the month, we conducted 146 traffic stops. We made 2 OVI arrests and 75 arrests. Those numbers are a little bit lower than usual, and Lieutenant Dorfline and I were just talking about it, and I forgot that it rained for 2 entire weeks straight. That would be a good reason why. For the month, we did not have any use of forces. We had 1 traffic pursuit that was terminated by our on-duty supervisor, and no internal investigations. Code enforcement, total of 93 violations, 217 inspections, 86 closed violations, 18 violations referred to housing court, 7 property maintenance violations, 6 zoning violations. In Henry, engaged 7 people littering, 10 abandoned vehicles, 25 parking complaints, 5 solicitors, and communicated with the public on 31 separate times. Just an update on our department's efforts with tonight's consent item, and actually what we just did, the command staff did this afternoon. We will be at 59, counting today, officers. We'll at 58 counting the consent agenda tonight, and that we just offered another conditional offer this afternoon to take us to 59 officers. Again, that's the highest we've ever seen. We're still looking for 8 more officers after this. We're looking at possibly having maybe 2 more before the next meeting. If not, it'll be into May. It all depends if we can get things moving as fast as we hope. So for the 2023 application process so far, we've had 111 applications. 81 have been removed from the process. 22 are being actively worked. 9 have been hired so far this year. I was actually talking to Mr. Waller about this earlier today. Is we've actually ran into the point that we have hired people so quickly that we do not have people to train them. So we're starting to have to slow down just a little bit on that part too, to make sure that our training process does not suffer and we're able to sustain that model. Just to address the question that was brought up at the last citizens address meeting, there was some discussion about the current incidents that are being looked at on Beavis Lane, and some questions being asked if we actually had any sort of ongoing investigations going back there. I ran all the incidents on Beavis Lane and reviewed them for the previous 2 years. We've had a few incidents that have been generated directly that can be proven at McDogg's, being a theft and assault and numerous noise complaints and parking violations. The noise complaints, roughly 15 to 20 of them in total, ranging from our officers' response and having found nothing heard, officers finding the noise coming from parked vehicles, or noise directly being called in from motorcycles that are driving along Beavis Lane. We have yet to respond to something that was directly proven to be coming from McDogg's. Parking violations, the complaints continue to be along the grassy area along McDogg's property. There was the claim in the conversation was that they're parking in the easement. I talked to one of our traffic officers that was involved in the traffic unit for over 10 years. We actually pulled the Township ordinance from 1984 that gave us 505-17, gives us the right to be able to cite for parking violations in the township, and we don't see where we have the right to ticket somebody for parking on the easement in a grassy area when it's not on the roadway. The complaints that are being made about the parking violations include, again, on the grassy area, vehicles parked in the wrong direction in which the complainant didn't like how they were parked, and lights being shined into the residents' houses as they did park or drive away. There was an incident that was reported at the last meeting where a resident was upset about an encounter with a patron of McDogg's. The claim was the police department did not respond, and the person made multiple claims that, by the definition of what was being explained at the meeting, would equate to a menacing charge, which is an arrestable offense. By what I was able to find and look into, it appears what the resident told us at the time is the patron showed inappropriate hand gestures to him, which is not an arrestable offense. And the two of them kind of went back and forth, and they were not very pleased with our response when we said that we could not arrest somebody for that. That's all I have able to find on my deep dive on Beavis.
Thank you for doing
Is there
that.
any questions directly about that or anything else?
We have had some negative publicity in Colerain Township these last couple of weeks. And discussing with you, our crime rate is not up any more significant than any other city, correct?
If you're comparing Colerain Township to the rest of the communities that are in our area, throughout the nation, throughout the state, there's crime is increasing everywhere. We have peaks and valleys. We have, I would say it was kind of odd in the month of March, we did not have any robberies, which is frankly shocking for me. We average between 6 and 9, I would say, robberies a month. So it does ebb and flow, but crime is up. There's no doubt about that. Theft is most certainly up, especially with auto theft that's occurring. But if you compare us to any other place that's Township, city, Hamilton, anywhere in Hamilton County, state of Ohio, the whole United States, crime's up everywhere.
And we were proactive in the Kia dealership supplying, was it 96?
So we directly reached out. I actually was at Coffee with the Chief and we were talking about this, and I saw the article that I think it was WCPO put out, and Lieutenant Mittendorf reached out to Kia. Kia very quickly said, sure, how many residents do you have? And when we told them almost 60,000, they didn't know what to say. So they said, well, how many should we send you? We said, you tell us, and they sent us 96 to start with. We put out that on Facebook. That is at zero cost to us, except for the effort that it takes our clerk at the front desk to be able to prove that that they are a resident of Colerain Township and that they physically own a Kia vehicle by showing registration.
And how many do we have left?
We just got 60 more sent to us.
That we went through 96, correct?
I believe we're on maybe the last dozen.
Okay, but we are trying to be proactive, very proactive, and
We can do to try to
yes.
curb this.
And just like you said, we're trying to hire several more police officers to help with the crime situation. I do believe we are trying to do what we can to curtail this.
Yeah, and we directly talked about our impact unit, and our impact unit currently consists of 4 people. 2 of those people, unfortunately, are full-time hiring right now. Another one is Brian Huntington, who is a complete monster on his own for what he's able to do by himself. And the 4th person will be our newly appointed canine officer that, frankly, once he takes this role and it goes into effect, which I hope it will be tonight, we won't actually have him on the road until about October.
I just know bad news travels so much faster, and I just want the citizens of Colerain Township to realize we are being proactive in these situations, especially with the car thefts.
Yeah, and I'm a very frank person, and I will tell you, we were in a bad place in September when we were at 47 officers.
Right.
We're at 58 officers now, 59 counting today. We are most certainly climbing the hill to where we need to be so we can get some of the proactive policing out. We do have a reactive model for the last few years. And unfortunately, that's just manpower, just being able to put officers out there. So we are, our hope, we were just talking with our 2, Jake McElvogue and Alex Malloy today, and they're very optimistic, and their hope is to have us up to have 67 people by the end of the summer. I don't know that they're going to be able to do that, but we're only about 6 away. So there's a good chance we might get there.
Awesome.
I would say that when you approached me with 47 officers, I was pretty concerned because I think if you read the tea leaves nationally, to be quite honest, people just don't have the same respect for law and order that they may have 20 years ago. And you said it right, it's a trend that we're seeing all over the place. And I don't know, it's the social media-izing of America. It seems like everybody, I firmly believe that half of America thinks if they put it on social media, they can't get arrested for it because it's on social media. I think that's how far we've kind of dropped on this issue, and it heartens me to see some of the folks that not only we're swearing in, that have experience in education, and we're going. I view us as kind of an island, a bulwark against this. As this type of crime spreads. And this week, my condolences to all the officers. It's been a rough week for police. You have Springfield Township. You have the individual, I believe he was in his first week at the Louisville shooting. And then we had, I think, 2 officers killed in Kansas City over the weekend. I mean, it's a place that it's very difficult to be right now in this country. And I thank God that you guys are there. And that we're building up what's necessary to at least stop or address some of these issues. And I think it's going to be a long climb up, because I think we're fighting a judicial system that oftentimes is catch and release. We arrest the same person, or maybe Green arrests the same person the next night. But I thank you for your patience in dealing with all this, and just being such an advocate for your officers. Nobody understands their organization more than the people in it, and you've been able to make that clear to me going on, moving forward. And despite the fact that we've had some negative press lately, we're still, nobody's given up, nobody's putting up a white flag, and we're still going to fight it every inch of the way, and I'm so happy that you're at the helm of that. So thank you so much. And I think that's all. And when you were speaking, somebody texted me. I won't tell you who it was that said it might be a relative of mine that said I should feel good that it's not an arrestable offense to give an inappropriate hand signal.
You're correct.
So I now have that, and I'll save that. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is our Assistant Director of Public Services. Oh, are you? Oh, I'm just messing. Yeah, Public Services. Tawana Moulter. David was eager.
Yeah. Mike. No, the mic, somebody turned it off. Okay. Sorry.
Okay, there we go.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. For the month, if you want to take a look at our monthly visitors, we had 10,342 at Clifford Park, and that's the 2 entrances combined. Colerain Park had 2,977, and Heritage Park was at 6,129. And also included in that, we did have a weekend where Heritage was closed because of river flooding, which luckily was not as bad as it was predicted. Then for litter for the month, they are doing amazing. They collected 26 signs, 311 bags of trash, 74 shopping carts, 38 tires, and completed 8 service requests. Part of what they did in the month of March was going through Wirt Park. There was a lot of stuff at the park, and so they spent one whole day kind of tackling some of that trash. And then as far as rentals go, is that on there? Okay. Well, we had 48 new park shelter rentals come through in the month of March. And then for the senior center, we had 1 use of Hall A and 1 use of Hall B. And then additionally, we have some project updates. So we met with, for the phase 3 portion of the new playground at Colerain Park, we did our pre-construction meeting at the very end of March. And with all of the equipment is ordered, with shipping and manufacturing, we're looking at delivery sometime in the month of August, which actually kind of works perfectly that we have the whole summer and our summer camp doesn't have to kind of work around the construction equipment and so forth. So we are looking at summer camp will end after the first week of August, we are looking at the start date of that following Monday, so the second week of August. And the other update is, if you have driven on Colerain Avenue, you see that the bus pull-offs are well underway, and they have gone much further and faster than I had anticipated. And I personally have not had any issues with traffic backing up too bad, so they've done a great job with that. And that's all I have. Oh, and I do have one update. The canoe ramps were constructed in 2005. So,
Okay.
okay.
Close.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tawana.
Okay, now it's David Miller's turn, our Development Director, for his administrative report.
Welcome, Mr. Miller.
Good evening,
Hello, hello.
trustees. Volume, excuse me, for permits is starting to ramp up with the weather improving. Construction is increasing, and so a significant jump in the number of permits. Single family, we approved 8 new permits for single family, and those are the Redwood homes at Lake Gloria, apartment homes, I think is the way they call them. We had 12 permits for commercial purposes, 5 solar permits, and then 31 other, just a variety of signs and things that require that. So it's busy, and they are just paddling as fast as they can to keep up. So we're encouraged that there is a lot of activity going on in Colerain. So make a big announcement. So mark your calendars for May 3rd, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. So if you recall, in 2021, we had a complete rewrite of our comprehensive plan. It's called Imagine Colerain. And with that being adopted, we have then in 22, we signed a contract for a complete rewrite of our zoning resolution so that it matches the comp plan. And so we want to make sure those are aligned so that the comprehensive plan that we envision is able to be accomplished through our zoning regulations. And so we have a great team that is helping us with that. We've been meeting with them and really rolling the sleeves up, digging in. So the next phase is a kind of an open house public hearing. So we're inviting residents and businesses from Colerain to show up on this date, May 3rd, 4 to 6 p.m. So we're going to meet next door here at 4300 Springdale at the Senior Center. We'll have a big room. We'll be able to have big boards where you can actually see what changes might be taking place where you live or work. It shouldn't expect major dramatic changes, but there will be a few things, again, based on what the citizens said they wanted the comp plan to look like. Then what we need to do is change some of the zoning to help us accomplish that and make those aligned. So once again, May 3rd, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Senior Center. Any questions I could answer for you? I'll mention one thing that maybe ties to Tawana, but there were 2 infrastructure failings at Northgate Mall at 2 entrances, and those were fixed in the last couple weeks. So they were major problems for pedestrians and cars, and so those are all back up, and that's good news. All right, thank you.
Thanks, David.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, under administration, we have some data here with our customer service. If you see our administration and planning customer service, we've got a very high percentage of we're doing great, so 88.24%. That's always a good number. Police department, this is from our our little kiosks out in the lobby. We have 60.19% that says we're doing great. I would imagine the ugly and bad are potentially the people that we're unhappy with the result of some kind of other service they received. And our senior center and community center customer service, we rank 93.33 with great, that we're doing great. And then finally, with our strategic plan, we do summarize our initiatives and our goals weekly, if not biweekly. And right now we're on track with 48.91% getting accomplished. 39% have not started yet. And then the other are either behind schedule a tad or they're delayed for some reason. I know I can speak personally on a couple that we're just waiting for answers from some of our vendors. So all in all, everything is looking really great on the administration wing. And are there any questions?
No, I'm good.
My
Thank you.
pleasure.
Okay, thank you. So that's administration reports. Now we start with the trustee reports. And who wants to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
All right. Actually, this is relatively short. I say that and it never turns out to be true. So just a big thanks. I would continue what I said to Chief Cordy and also to Chief Walls for making sure we have the people. I think our biggest charge here is to make sure we have police, fire, EMS, and public works, which we're doing our best to keep up with. I had a lengthy discussion with Mr. Weckbach, and we will. He's not here, so I'm not going to go into the who's and what's about that. About the vacant property, and working on making sure that is more that we get a quicker response from the vendor on that. I also had a discussion with State Senator Blessing on his bill. To restrict large volume rental companies, which is a fairly interesting bill. We'll see what happens. To Mr. Teeters, I have been in your establishment a number of times, and I've never felt scared. Now, I don't know if that's because I'm 6'8", but but I do know that you have, and there are folks that are regulars there that invited me to come meet you a couple years ago, and it's. I know that you have provided a lot of services to the community, and I certainly appreciate that. And it sounds like you're doing what you can do. And I do appreciate the fact that you do whatever's necessary to make sure that people that may have had too much do not get in behind the wheel of a car. I think that's significant. Shred Day is this Saturday from 8 to noon at Furniture Fair. Bring up the stuff that needs to be shredded, and they will shred it. I don't know where it goes from there. I guess it gets destroyed somewhere. Recycled. Okay. I always think back of the Iranian hostage crisis, where the students put all the shredded documents back together again, which is kind of amazing. Northbrook and Groesbeck Community Cleanup Day is April 22nd from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. That also for my other job at Elder High School is also the day of service. So I'm going to see if I can maybe hoodwink a couple students into coming out and helping as well. Just people may not know, I guess it started at the end of March, so we're already there. Yard trimming. You can drop that off at Rumpke Landfill on Saturdays and Sundays between 8:30 and 2. And I've already seen a number of people, blow their grass out into the street. Keep in mind, that people drive motorcycles and bikes and stuff, and it becomes a little bit dangerous and slippery, and it gets kind of caught in some
sewers.
In some of the sewers, and it's a problem. But it's free of charge. Rumpke Landfill, 8:30 to 2 p.m. On Saturday and Sunday. And if you want to know what they'll accept, it's a long list, but you can go to Hamilton County. R3source.org. It's Hamilton County R3source.org. And it lists the guidelines. And there's 3 other places across the county you can go to as well if you don't want to go straight to Rumpke, including a location on the west side. So that's available too. I think that is it for me today. Thank you.
Wow, I wish we had a timer on that one.
I know.
Well, I'll go if you don't care. Mine's real short. Just wanted to wish happy Easter. I hope I've had a great Easter, a great weekend. Thanks again to our Colerain Township volunteers. Last Saturday, saw all the wonderful green bags being, all the litter is just unbelievable for me, but thank you for those people for picking it up. And just about the Colerain Northbrook, I guess you have to have a license to show that you live in Northbrook or Groesbeck at the hours of 9 to 3. And it is at the Northbrook Shopping Center at the corner of Pippin and I guess that's Compton. Right there. Huh? Adams, it turns
By the
out.
mural.
Yeah, by the mural, okay. And that's all.
Thank you, Kathy.
Okay.
You know, Colerain Township is a great place to live, and 99.99% of the people, you never hear much about them. Within the past week, we have lost a really great guy named Jerry Lynn. Like so many people, he got up and went to work every day throughout his career and worked very hard and paid his taxes and was a very vibrant member of the community. And in his neighborhood, he was the kind of the mayor of the neighborhood and always had a great sense of humor. During his career, he worked in finance at Formica for 40 years and dutifully went to work every day, and he was able to retire and spend about 15 years in retirement. Prior to that, he honorably served in the United States Army in the Vietnam War. And he was actually over in Southeast Asia and told me a little bit about it here and there, but not much. He spent the last 5 years of his life with a little touch of Parkinson's, and that led to a little bit of breathing problems. So he spent his time with an oxygen tube under his nose, but he didn't let that get the best of him. He never complained a single time, and he was just a really great fella. He was a super high-class person. So to his wife, Joan, and to his children, Julie, Jerry, and Jen, and all of his grandchildren, and to so many friends that he's leaving behind, I wish him well in the next life. I'm confident he went straight up to heaven, and he's just a super guy, and he's going to be very missed. And he was a great American. So see you in the next life, Jerry. Thank you.
He was a good friend of my family.
There you go. So
Yeah.
you knew him too,
Played cards with his wife, yeah.
with Joni.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what a good guy he was. So that's all for my report.
Okay, now we move on to new business.
Thank you, Trustee Ulrich. We have the first item is a resolution requesting auditor's approval to create tax increment financing funds. You can find this information on page 9 of your agenda packet. The township received payments in lieu of tax for 4 new TIF districts as part of the first half property tax settlement. In order to receive that revenue, 4 new funds must be created in the accounting system. Those funds will account for the revenues for the Abbeytown, Hunters Ridge, Lake Gloria, and Crosley Meadow TIFs. Staff recommends a motion and adoption of this resolution.
A motion to request the auditor's approval to create tax increment financing funds as described.
I'll second. Any discussion?
No comments. There is a resolution in the packet.
Right.
That we'll be voting on.
Any discussion?
Nope.
Okay. Mr. Baker?
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, next we have our public safety item of the portion of the new business, and I'd like to welcome Chief Falls up for his motion.
Welcome back, Chief.
Thank you, and good evening again. I just have one item tonight. It's a motion authorizing a pay increase for Department of Fire and EMS seasonal fire hydrant maintenance workers. That pay rate would be $16 an hour. We recommend adoption of the motion. If you would like some historical background real quick, their last pay raise was over 2 years ago. Their current pay rate's $11.33 an hour, and it is in need of some serious adjustment to be competitive.
A motion to authorize pay increase for Department of Fire and EMS seasonal fire hydrant maintenance workers to the $16 per hour.
I'll second. Any discussion?
I think that's entirely reasonable. It's hard getting people at the current rate.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Next will be Chief Cordy.
Chief, I don't know if this was your idea or someone else's to put 1 of 9, 2 of 9.
I did, yeah. 'Cause
That's so awesome. It's
I was getting confused a couple times ago, so I figured I'm not very smart, so I got to.
well, either am I. I flipped back and forth. I couldn't find them, but this makes it a lot easier. Thank
A
you.
little bit easier. I will I was talking with Mr. Teetsworth in the back there. The Community Cleanup Day is also in partnership with Greater Groesbeck as well. So Greater Groesbeck as well will be there. So it's open to the Northbrook and Groesbeck areas. Item B, resolution declaring nuisance and ordering abatement. This resolution allows for the removal of uncontrolled vegetation and/or refuge at the following properties: 9615 Dunraven, 11931 Hamilton Avenue, 2773 Leota Lane, 9743 Laura Linda Drive, 7054 Memory Lane, 3502 Niagara Street, 9182 Orangewood Drive, 8240 Pippin Road, 2815 Springdale Road, 2827 Springdale Road, 3650 Stone Creek Boulevard, 2550 West Galbraith Road, 3091 West Galbraith Road. Recommend adoption of the resolution.
I motion that we approve the resolution declaring nuisance and ordering abatement at the properties detailed by Chief Cordy.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
None.
None?
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Try something different here too. Resolution declaring a junk motor vehicle at 2577 Burnside Drive. Recommend adoption of the resolution.
Trying to get that to come up on my screen.
I will motion to declare a junk and motor vehicle at 2577 Burnside Drive.
I'll second.
No comments.
So in the actual resolution itself, do we need to flip the spelling? Is that a problem?
This Burnside spelled wrong.
Yeah. I just want to make sure legally that,
Well, look on your, on the piece of paper that we'll be signing for. the
How
Chiefs.
do you spell? We can just alter that via pen.
okay.
I think it's understood that it's Burnside. I'm trying to get that one to come up.
Just want to make sure that we're consistent.
I think the important part is more the parcel ID.
Okay. Well, we don't have, do we,
Yeah, it's on,
oh, it's on the
Yes.
resolution. Gotcha.
Resolution declaring a junk motor vehicle as revised by the law director.
okay, there we go.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
All right, item D, resolution declaring a junk motor vehicle at 3201 Redfern Court. Recommend adoption of the resolution.
I motion we adopt the resolution for the junk vehicle at 3201 Redfern, you say?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So that's my motion.
I'll second. I do have to ask, what's a homemade bar car buggy?
It's a bar car buggy, sir. Huh.
I don't know what a bar car buggy is.
Bars, they go like, they go sand.
Oh, okay.
Watch more TV, Matt.
I'm busy reading Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay, we can take a vote now.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Resolution declaring a junk motor vehicle at 3231 Deschler Drive. Recommend adoption of the resolution.
I motion that we declare a junk motor vehicle located at 3231 Dessler Drive.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
None.
None?
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Recommend resolution declaring a junk motor vehicle at 3438 West Galbraith Road. I recommend adoption of the resolution.
I motion we adopt the resolution declaring a junk motor vehicle at 3438 West Galbraith Road.
I'll second that.
No discussion?
None.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Resolution declaring a junk motor vehicle at 8542 Neptune Drive. Recommend adoption of the resolution.
I motion we declare a junk motor vehicle at 8542 Neptune Drive.
I'll second. This is for all three that are listed.
It's a Cadillac, a red Nissan, and a blue Jeep.
And I have a second on that.
Okay.
No,
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Resolution declaring a junk motor vehicle at 9238 Comstock Drive. Recommend adoption of the resolution.
I motion we declare a junk motor vehicle at 9238 Comstock Drive. It's a black Chevy Corvette with no tag.
I'll second that.
No discussion?
Ms.
Notice-
Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Resolution declaring a junk motor vehicle at 9752 Condor Drive. It's actually two vehicles, a Pontiac Firebird and a boat and trailer.
I'll motion to declare a junk motor vehicle at 9752 Condor Drive.
Kathy seconded.
Okay. I thought you were reading.
No comments. There's the vehicle and the boat.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Resolution declaring a junk motor vehicle at 9753 Condor Drive. Recommend adoption of the resolution.
I'll motion to declare a junk motor vehicle at 9753 Condor Drive.
I'll second it. It's a blue Nissan Pathfinder, as it says.
No discussion?
None.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Resolution declaring a junk motor vehicle at 10836 Pippin Road. Three vehicles, a red Jaguar, a white Ford F-450, and a black Mazda 626. Recommend adoption of the resolution.
I motion that we declare 3 junk motor vehicles at 10836 Pippin Road.
I'll second. No discussion?
No discussion, but I will have a question for you before you leave the podium.
You got it.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Is that the rest of your business?
No, it's not.
Okay,
Three more items before you.
okay.
Item I, you ready? Motion to authorize the Township Administrator to sign an agreement with the YWCA of Greater Cincinnati as revised by the Law Director. This agreement allows the Township to accept a $28,569.46 grant as a subrecipient of the YWCA. It funds our participation in their grant from the United States Justice Department Office of Violence Against Women. The department has partnered with the YWCA for over 7 years as we develop the lethality assessment protocol for domestic violence survivors. Recommend adoption of the motion.
A motion, we authorize the Township Administrator to sign an agreement with the YWCA of Greater Cincinnati for the amount, allows us to accept $28,569.46 as a subrecipient.
I'll second that.
No discussion?
No discussion.
I just want to point out, I think the most important thing we can do is protect those folks that are in such a position that can't protect themselves, and thank you for pursuing this. It means a lot to the community. Thank you.
And the entire agreement is posted on the agenda here. It's lengthy.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Motion to authorize the Township Administrator to execute an agreement with Target Solutions Learning LLC. Target Solutions Learning LLC is the parent company of Guardian Tracking. The Police Department has used Guardian Tracking since 2015 to computerize the documentation of incidents such as quarterly reviews, officer-involved incidents, positive community contacts, letters of recommendations, sick time usage, etc. This is instrumental management software for the department. The agreement term is for 36 months. Recommend adoption of the motion.
I'll motion to authorize the Township Administrator to execute an agreement with Target Solutions Learning LLC.
I'll second.
And that is also contained in the agenda. It looks like the total of the agreement is $2,070.00.
Annually.
Annually.
And I understand this allows you to do appraisals of officers, and it's pretty. From what I understand, talking to people, this is the one that this is the blue chip version of this.
Yeah, it's more the gold standard for what's considered in law enforcement in multiple and different entities throughout the country. This is what's recommended in almost anywhere you go to that says this is the best way to track. You could set up, obviously, positive recognition. You can have early warning point systems in there that you can tell and let you know if there's a trend that's established. There's multiple different things that you can do inside this.
All right.
No other comments?
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Motion to authorize the township administrator to purchase needed canine items. So the rationale here is with the donation that's on the consent agenda for later tonight from the Matt Haverkamp Foundation of a new dual-purpose police service dog. It's a mouthful. The police department needs to purchase a quality kennel to be installed at the new handler's residence. This will secure an asset at the residence and ensure the canine is restricted to a designated area. This purchase will be approximately $10,000. This is obviously an investment into a dog that we have to have. This dog and the way that these dogs work are they have to be in a controlled environment. They must be controlled by the handler. And frankly, we need to secure our asset to stay away from anybody else that is not the handler. At no time do we want this dog to be able to get out for obvious liability reasons. And the second, with the purchase of our new therapy canine, Raina, the department needs to purchase a way to secure our asset, being Raina. Unlike the dual-purpose police service dog, where we need to ensure the safety of others from the canine, with the therapy dog, we need to ensure the safety of Raina from other threats. The purchase program requires her to be off-leash and act independently, which is the complete opposite of what the dual-purpose police service dog would do. The recommended action of this is to purchase a fence at the residence, or at the handler's residence. This purchase will be approximately $6,500. Again, this is a completely different approach to a type of dog. This dog is 100% off-leash that will roam in throughout the entire police department. And when they're at the handler's residence, again, they're an off-leash animal. We cannot allow this dog to come into contact with anybody else or have any sort of other animal engage her. This is 100% within our financing that we had budgeted for this year to continue with this purchase.
And these are, what, 6-foot fences? What are they?
I believe this one's only supposed to be a 5-foot fence.
5-foot fence, okay.
I motion that we authorize the township administrator to purchase those two needed canine items.
I'll second. Any discussion?
Not at this time.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Unger?
Yes, we declare a lot of junk motor vehicles. The passage of our junk motor vehicle ordinance in May of 2021 has really collected up a lot of junk autos and trailers and different things, and it's made the community a better place. And then you impound some other cars also that end up at our impoundment lot. Most of these cars are recyclable, and they're safe to have stored on our lot. They might have a little fuel left in them. As time goes on with this infatuation with these battery-powered automobiles, my question, which you might not know the answer to, have you impounded any battery-powered cars? And, you know, I know the landfills don't want to take those batteries. I know Garden Street Metal Recovery does not want if you take a Prius down there, they want the battery out of it. Do we have any battery cars on our lot? And this will be something for Chief Walls also. How are we, not that they're not going to burst into flame unless the battery's damaged. And by the time we get impound a car, it might be from an accident or something. So just my ongoing question for the department to think about is, what are we going to do as time goes on? And, you know, all these nice new Teslas you see running around, well, 5 or 10 years from now, they're going to be not nice new Teslas and some of the other cars. And, you know, eventually are we going to have a policy to do something with these battery-powered cars? The cars that run on gasoline, you can crunch them, you can shred them, and it becomes recyclable metal, and generally you'll get a couple $100. If you know, some of our junk car people, they probably get rid of the car before we come to tow it. You can take it down to Pull and Pray or Pull and Pay. I'm sorry, I call it Pull and Pray, that you get a good car. But
I think that means something else, Mr.
So we have, do we have a policy to deal with batteries that are going to end up in our impoundment lot?
We actually don't have anything, to be very frank, we don't have anything set in stone for that. I will tell you that I have yet to come across that being an issue.
Right, and it's kind of a new thing. It's coming.
It's on my radar now. I hear you, because it's very valid points, and that's something I would have to look into. The good thing is, when we do have cars that have a little bit more value to them, they are typically picked up very quickly. So hopefully that vehicle would be taken fairly quickly if we had a Tesla or something of that nature, that they would be able to come take that vehicle out as well. Very valid concerns, and I don't have an answer for you, but that's something I'll look into.
Okay, well, yeah, it's just something to think about, because that is going to come to visit us in the next few years. We're going to start accumulating those, so.
Oh yeah, and I would probably just call Alan and say help when it catches on fire, because you're right, it's going to burn until it.
Well, if the battery's damaged, that becomes a hazardous situation. And
Absolutely.
So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Can't put it out with water.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Chief. Next, we have Assistant Director Tawana Malter to present the Public Services new business items.
Welcome back.
And I will turn on the microphone this time. Okay, the first item under Public Services is a motion to approve enabling legislation for ODOT Project 113851 and to authorize the Township Administrator to execute all related agreements. The information can be found on page 92 of your agenda packet. Attached is the enabling legislation that is required for ODOT to commence the Colerain Avenue Streetscape Project, which will result in improvements on Colerain Avenue from John Rose to Shady Crest. This project has received grant funding from numerous sources and will result in traffic improvements and aesthetic improvements along Colerain Avenue. ODOT has provided attached legislation that they request be adopted without changes. This motion would authorize the Township Administrator and Fiscal Officer to sign these documents to allow ODOT to officially bid the project and oversee all construction. Staff recommendation is approval of the motion.
I motion that we approve enabling legislation for ODOT Project 113851 and to authorize the Township Administrator to execute all related agreements.
And I'll second that.
Discussions?
It's something we've been talking about a very long time, and this is just another step in the process. No other comments from me.
None.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Okay, the next item is motion authorizing the Township Administrator to execute agreement with Duke Energy for $118,618 for utility relocations for Colerain Avenue Streetscape Project. The information on this item can be found on page 102 of your agenda packet. As mentioned at the March 14th meeting, there is a need for several utility poles to be relocated as part of this Colerain Avenue Streetscape Project from John Rose to Shady Crest. The attached is the document from Duke outlining the cost of this work. The staff recommendation is approval of the motion.
I'll motion to authorize the Township Administrator to execute agreement with Duke Energy for $118,618 for utility relocations for Colerain Avenue Streetscape Project.
I will second it.
Discussions?
It's part of the same project that we
Right.
just discussed.
No comment.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Okay. The next item is motion authorizing the Township Administrator to execute an agreement with the Nepali Language and Art Center for the use of designated areas at Dravo Park for recreational purposes on a long-term basis. Information on this item can be found on page 104 of your agenda packet. Over the last several years, staff has permitted special use of Dravo Park to the Cricket Club of the Nepali Language and Art Center. It's an Ohio nonprofit corporation for the operation of adult and youth cricket contests. The relationship has been favorable, and staff has recognized an opportunity to partner with the organization on a long-term basis. This partnership will provide added value to the use of the park and offer the community an alternative recreational opportunity that would otherwise not be possible. This agreement would commence on April 12th, 2023, and terminate on December 31st, 2025, unless terminated sooner, as provided in sections 11 and 12 of the attached agreement. This project has been identified in the 2023 strategic plan under goal number 4, continuously improve the operations of the township. Staff recommendation is approval of the motion.
I motion that we authorize the township administrator to execute an agreement with the Nepali Language and Arts Center for the use of a designated area of Dravo Park for recreational purposes on a long-term basis, the timeline detailed by Tawana.
Second that.
Discussion?
Yes, and the entire draft agreement is here in the agenda, and it does mention they will be solely responsible for maintaining the park for athletic and recreational purposes, and there's a schedule attached as Exhibit A, so it sounds like they're going to take care of the maintenance of it.
Yes.
Which takes some work off of our Public Works Department.
Yes.
So, great. No other questions or comments?
No comment.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Okay, and the last item is a resolution authorizing participation in the 2023 ODOT SALT contract. Information on this item can be found on page 116 of your agenda packet. Each year, the township enters into a joint bid conducted by the state of Ohio to secure better pricing on the required purchase of salt for the following year. This resolution allows for our participation in the program. The staff recommendation is an adoption of the resolution.
I motion we adopt the resolution authorizing participation in the 2023 ODOT SALT contract.
Second. Any discussions?
And you do have the updated SALT contract in there, so good deal. No other comments?
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Yep, and that is all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the last item really is just an update or a discussion on the cemetery easement project that is also on our 2023 strategic plan as an initiative for item number 4 to continuously improve our operations. Staff has been looking into 11 properties that we maintain under the Township cemetery listing that we have on our website, and things are going well. We have a couple hiccups, but we're addressing those. We're a little bit late with that initiative deadline, so I wanted to reach out to you all and just give you an update on that. There are specific cemeteries, specifically I can call it to Compton Cemetery, where access from the main road is virtually impossible. So we have to go to Chopin Drive and ask the residents that live there if we can go through their property into their backyards and access the cemetery to maintain it through that way. So we're working on a list of residents who we can contact and get permission to enter their property as an easement, and we'll keep you posted on that process.
Okay.
So,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Okay, next under new business is our development director, David Miller.
Welcome back.
Thank you. A couple quick items. We have item 10A is a motion to appoint Charles Thiemann Jr. as an alternate member to our Board of Zoning Appeals. And we have sat down and interviewed him. He comes with a great resume in the Hamilton County court system and the prosecutor's office. I think he'd be a great addition when needed. And he's recently retired and has time to serve. So recommend the appointment of Charles Thiemann Jr. to BZA.
A motion that we appoint Charles Thiemann Jr. as an alternate member to the Colerain Township Board of Zoning Appeals.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
And you went through a selection process. I don't know the man. I've never met him. This has been your decision to request his appointment.
Yep.
Outstanding.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Item 10B on your agenda is a motion to set a public hearing for zoning commission case ZA 2023-03, which will potentially, based on, well, the zoning commission will hear the case and they'll send a recommendation to you, and then the Board of Trustees will have final decision on this, but they will be hearing a case to rezone a portion of 8940 Colerain Avenue from R6 to B2. So that public hearing would be scheduled for May, what did we say? Well, I didn't put that on there.
May 9th is a Tuesday.
Yep, it would be May 9th. That's Sorry about that.
No problem.
I motion that we set a public hearing for zoning commission case ZA 2023-03, rezoning a portion of 8940 Colerain Avenue from R6 to B2, and that would be on Tuesday, May 9th, anytime after 7 o'clock when our normal meeting starts that night.
Correct.
I'll second that.
Discussions?
None.
None.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
David.
Okay, next under new business is administration, which will be me. The first item is a motion authorizing the township administrator to execute an agreement with OpenGov for budgeting, permitting, code enforcement, public services, and reporting software solutions at an average rate of $70,744.43 over 3 years. The item, information on this item can be found on page 123. Currently, the township uses OpenGov for its budget software, code enforcement tracking, planning and zoning permits, public services tracking, and external data reporting systems. The attached service quote would renew the township's contract with OpenGov for these services for an additional 3-year period. The total cost is approximately $71,000 per year. Staff recommendation is approval of this motion.
A motion that we authorize the township administrator to execute an agreement with OpenGov for budgeting, permitting, code enforcement, public works, and reporting software solutions at an average rate of $70,744.43 over 3 years.
I'll second. Any comments?
Just one very slight one, that there is a one little typo. 2 of the letters are in the wrong order in the very small print of the word Colerain. But other than that, I didn't see anything else with it.
I see that.
No other comments.
There is, good, boy, your eyes catch up.
That's tiny, isn't
I
it?
know, that is really good catch. Okay.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Okay, the next item is a motion to set a special meeting of the Board of Trustees for May 9th, 2023 at 6 p.m. And this will be a work session on the police department's long-term financial needs and potential property tax levy. The information for this item can be found on page 126 of your agenda packet. As highlighted in the 2023 budget book, the police department is facing a drawdown of reserves, that will require an action by the board. This meeting is intended to provide the board with an opportunity to discuss the long-term costs of the police department and to discuss strategies to address the existing deficit. As a reminder, the township last had a levy for the police department in 2015 that was intended to only last 5 years. Staff recommendation is an approval of the motion.
I motion that we set a special meeting of the Board of Trustees for Tuesday, May 9th, 2023 at 6 o'clock for a work session on the police department long-term financial needs and potential property tax levy.
I will second that.
Discussion?
Please come to the meeting, anybody that has anything to say about it.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Okay, next is a resolution approving new opioid settlement participation agreements for Teva, Allergen, CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart. This information can be found on page 127 of your agenda packet. Over the last several years, there have been several class action lawsuits against various opioid manufacturers and distributors. The attached resolution would allow Colerain to participate in a new suit. The opioid epidemic created a large strain on governmental resources, including direct costs to our police department and our fire department. Participation forms related to this suit, which are found as Exhibit A through E, are due to be completed by April 18th of 2023. Staff recommendation is an adoption of the resolution.
I motion that we approve the resolution for the new opioid settlement participation agreements for Teva, Allergen, CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart.
I'll second. Any discussion?
No, I'm sure it'll take years to get it figured out.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I'm skeptical that we'll ever see a nickel.
Yeah.
No other comments?
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Okay, and the last item under administration is a resolution modifying the organizational chart. On page 147 of the agenda packet, there's information regarding this resolution. What we are founding is that there's an additional need for facility maintenance support. This has been identified through a review of the current workload of the full-time facility manager, which is a position that was added to the organization in 2019. Additional details on the changes can be found in the attached memo on page 150 of the packet. This position is a part-time position and will be limited to 20 hours per week while we monitor the effectiveness of the addition. Staff recommendation is an adoption of this resolution.
I motion we adopt the resolution modifying the organizational chart.
I'll second that.
Any discussions?
Yes, I think it's critical to have another facility maintenance person. We have one, and he's a very sharp and talented guy, and he's spending some of his time, changing light bulbs and different things, and filters and HVAC equipment. So I think in his position, which was created 3 years ago, we more than save his annual employee cost every year with the incredible amount of things he's able to fix without bringing in outside vendors. So what this person would do would be just take on some of the non-technical duties of the facility director. We used to have plumbers and HVAC people and all kinds of folks in here every week, and a lot of that's gone away just because of this one decision we made 3 years ago. 4 years ago. Where does the time go? But no, I will support this.
Any discussion?
No?
Ms. Ulrich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is old business, which is in regard to 2 items from the March 14th Board of Trustees meeting. I would like to call up Chief Cordy to discuss potential or answer some questions regarding to item A. This is a motion to issue a noise resolution permit to McDogg's Lakeside Saloon that was tabled. If you would like to look at this item on the agenda, it can be found in your agenda packet on page 157.
So I'll go ahead to motion to issue a noise resolution permit to McDogg's Lakeside Saloon so we can bring it to the floor and answer chief questions.
I'll second it.
Discussion.
So it was said before that there was a problem with, I don't know, an addition that was made. Have we solved that issue? That was the one issue
It's
that,
going to be looked through zoning. If
Yeah.
there's any zoning violations.
Thank you. Talking with Mr. Teeters before the meeting about that directly, there was something that was raised to his attention about something a stage that was built, correct? Yes, sir. The stage that was built, and there was issue with that, and the stage was actually taken down.
okay, and we're good on the whole, because it's got a non-conforming use, it's seen as a commercial versus residential, right?
Exactly. The use of the bar was in place well before zoning resolution went into action.
So then the commercial rules for noise apply, okay.
A lot of people don't realize, and having grown up out here, when I was a kid and up until I was 14 or 15 years old, I-275 stopped east of Colerain Avenue. It just stopped right there, and Colerain Avenue was in place. And for the last 100 years before that, Beavis Lane connected directly to Colerain Pike. And that area now is the eastbound on-ramp from northbound Colerain to 275. This business has been here I see that Mr. Teeters has brought us a resolution recognizing the tavern there, having been in place for over 100 years as of 2015. The place predates anything we've done, and I'd like to thank him for being such an important part of our business community. I've talked to numerous neighbors back there, including the folks when we were talking about the house on Capstan. I visited with the neighbors over there when we were talking about that, and the one neighbor said, "Why are they picking on this guy?" And I said, just like any other restaurant or bar, I'm sure there's incidents. We have stuff with our big commercial grocery stores. There's always where there's commercial activity and a lot of people going in and out. Sure, a couple things can happen, but I appreciate Mr. Teeters, who probably works 70 hours a week with his business, taking the time to come and be a part of our township government this evening. So thank you for operating your business here, and I'm looking forward to the vote on this.
I've also been at your establishment. I'm not 6'8", and I've never felt any weariness about being there. It's my friends' bands that play outside, and it's a very nice occasion. So I don't have any problem. Thank you.
No other comments?
No other comments.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes, and thank you for your patience while we got this, we got this straight up here. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Cordy. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
The next item, item B, is a motion to modify rules of procedure and conduct for Board of Trustee meetings. To recap this item, there was a special work session held in February where we spoke extensively about capital reserves. This feedback was drafted into an updated rules and procedures and had its first reading at the March 14th Board of Trustees meeting. Information on this item can be found in your agenda packets on page 159. Today will serve as the second reading, and staff recommendation is an approval of the motion.
A motion to modify the rules of procedure and conduct for Board of Trustee meetings.
I'll second. Any discussions?
As our assistant administrator just said, this is just to include a requirement for an annual work session on capital reserves, which I'm in favor of.
And the reason, and we have already talked about in this board, was an agreement of an annual capital reserve, but this kind of memorializes it past our time. So if you get 3 new trustees and they want to get rid of, if they want to get rid of the capital reserve, which I think all 3 of us have indicated is very important to us for long-term planning, they have to actually change the rules. So they have to vote to change the rules, and they have to vote then to end the capital reserve. So it's a very transparent 2-step process because we consider it such an important move forward for the township.
And for those looking at the agenda, it's highlighted on page 10 of the agenda, the new words that are in there. No other comments from me.
No other comments?
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Okay, next we have our consent agenda items. There are 14 items, if you would like me to read them in sum.
Yes, please read each one.
Okay, perfect. Item A is a donation acceptance for the Public Services Department by Sipsey Klein for $1,000. This is a check for a co-movie sponsor. A donation acceptance for the Public Services Department from Ryan Holmes for $3,500, which is a check for the Summer Series title sponsor. Item C is a donation acceptance for the Department of Fire and EMS from the Mount Healthy Eagles, lodge number 2193, in the sum of $5,000. Item D is a donation acceptance for the Police Department for exercise equipment valued at $2,100. Item E is a donation acceptance for the Police Department for a dual-purpose police service dog for $8,900. Item F is a contract for geotechnology bus station pull-off soil testing, which is estimated at $2,500. It's worthy to note that they bill after they do the testing, so it can be anywhere from $400 to $2,500. And then prior to constructing portions of the bus station, soil and materials must be tested to make sure they can ensure the stability of the area that's getting worked on. Item G is a contract with Sedgwick Workers' Compensation Administration for $6,920 for 1 year. Sedgwick is the township's representatives on our workers' compensation plan claims and filings, so they administer those components for us. And this is just for 1 more year, as noted. Item H is a contract with One Stop Pest Control for termite remediation at Station 26 in the amount of $2,800. Item I is a contract with Cincinnati State for paramedicine partnership. This is just extending our continued partnership with them to provide emergency medical training at no cost to the township. It's important to address that. Item J is a contract with Mobilecom for access control for our rear door of the administration wing. This is in the amount of $2,529.33. We have an item that we're looking to repurpose from the training center to our administration building, and that's what that would cover. Item K is an engagement letter with Plattenberg. As part of our 2022 year-end close, staff identified several transfers in 2021 from the general checking to the Colerain Town Center Rumpke TIF trustee accounts that may not have been necessary. This analysis will address that question. It is worth noting that the accounts of the township are reconciled each month, and it is not that any funds have been misused or are missing. It's simply to ensure that the funds are reflected in the proper account. Item L is a promotion of a fire lieutenant in the Department of Fire and EMS. Firefighter paramedic Steve May will be effective on April 18th at a rate of $32.94 per hour. Item M is a new hire police officer for the police department, and that is Barb Alyard, and I might be saying that incorrectly. And the final consent item is a service agreement with Zix Microsoft Office 365. And this agreement will allow the fire department to upgrade 10 Microsoft Office 365 licenses from the basic business to a business standard. The cost of this amendment is $370.50.
I motion that we approve the consent items.
I'll second that.
And for those that like detail, every one of these is listed in our agenda. I'm, for instance, looking at the Plattenberg one. It says the fee range will be between $6,550 and $7,500. Each one of these has an amount with it, and I know sometimes we have folks that come in and want to know if we approve stuff without seeing the amounts. They are all right here. So I have no other comments.
Just a thank you to all there's a numerous amount of people who donated. Thank you so much for your generosity.
Absolutely. Thank you, thank you.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Okay, our fiscal officer, anything to report?
Thank you, Board. Just a couple of items. The February financials have been balanced and posted with a adjusted balance as of February 28th of $50,821,677.90. And lastly, we've had, in terms of public records requests, we're at 110 for the year, and we're down to only 10 active, but I would suspect within a week or so those will be done. So we're staying up to date on all of those. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any need for an executive session, Mr.?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Should we have a motion to adjourn this meeting at 9:11?
I motion that we adjourn the meeting at 9:11 in the evening.
Okay, I'll second.
Any vote?
No.
I just hate that number, but
I know, I just was looking at you, looking.
I'm like, ugh.
Well, it's nice to get out at a decent
Yeah.
time.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
yes.
Okay, meeting's adjourned, and it's now 9:12.
Thank you. All right, much better.
Okay.